Hello everybody, this is Dougie B out of Virginia. Um, I'm making this video. It's called The Last Republic. We're at the end of our rope, and I think we got to make some decisions as people of this country and try to pull ourselves back together, because I think in my heart that this is the only way to try to do a lawful, godly, constitutional means to bring the people back and to come out of tyranny, because that's where we're falling. You can see today they're trying to get another $3.5 trillion, and 1/10 of it is like for infrastructure, and they're using infrastructure as this top priority, but the rest goes to government funding, and it's funding agencies and everything else, but it ain't funding you. You got to play their game to get a little bit out of them, but it's time for us to pull the pin. There's no way to pay that back. There's no way to pay it back. You just enslaved. If you're thinking it's going to help this country, you just enslaved your children and grandchildren. And every 10 months, you got to have $1 trillion just to operate for 535 people. We got millions of people out here, not 535. They've disrespected the trust of our country. Now let's move forward and get into what our country was founded upon. I have a chart here that I've spent a lot of time, about 30 years of research. I have dealt with researchers a long time. And we try to put pieces together to see what is the best process to try to bring a republic back, because we don't have a republic now. We have a democracy. And it's time for us to move forward and start understanding and educating ourselves, because this is not taught in schools. It's very frowned upon. So we gotta get together, people. So let's put our heads together. Let's see if we can make some decisions, conclusions. Maybe we want to follow a path or not. That's your choice. There's nothing here that's dishonest and not trying to be. This is our country, and we're going to give it away now. Okay? And if you want that, that's your choice. But it's not people that have roots into this land with families that started this country and bloodline descendants, and a lot of other people out here. If you only come together, and then we can find out, we can work together, and we can make a republic happen, because that's how a republic started, of the people. Now my first line here is of this republic of the United States of America. We broke down a little bit, but developed republics out of it, and our ancestors came to this country with religious freedom. And the freedom was that they brought Jesus Christ to spread the world throughout the world. They came to a new world, and they came to spread the word of Jesus Christ. They didn't come to spread tyranny, big government, big agencies. They didn't come to do that. They came here with religious freedom. In order for them to have religious freedom to raise a family, have a farm, they had farming and everything. They had to work the land. They worked hard to develop this country into what it is today. And they brought with them pretty much of a biblical aspect of the history. And they researched the history all the way back to when man put tablets out of historical events that happened to be pretty well on the money. And we have the Torah. Today, Americans mostly use the King James Version of 1611, but the first 5 books of the King James Version is in the Torah. Most people don't know that, but it is. But we're going to deal on this little presentation here for the Last Republic is that the first 5 books of the Torah is all we're going to deal with today. And we're going to put this in perspective and try to see how we can set up a republic. Number 1 was the Torah always gives you the information that it was derived upon 3 factors, and that was the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, and that's on the line here. And the Torah means law, and it's the law of God. And through that, we brought that here, and we took care of each other and others. We helped out. Everybody joined together and helped out, and we made a strong country. And we had tyranny that came in because we had a British Empire that came in during the 1600s. Earlier than that, but far as hitting the nail at the 1700s, people were sick of the British because they taxed everything. Even dirt roads that they said was British Crown, they taxed you and put a toll there and make you pay a toll, and people got tired of it, and we had a Revolutionary War, and we got together and formed a constitution from the war that they surrendered. That's how you have your state's Bill of Rights. We got the Declaration of Independence, and we have a 1787 Constitution out of that. I'm not going to go too much further in that because later on in history you'll find out they burned the Library of Congress, burned the White House down, and they say there was no Constitution. It's burned down, so how could it be one? That's how they brought it in later in 1871. I don't recognize that United States corporation. Once the Supreme Court said corporations have rights, trust me, everything went up. And after the Civil War, we were a very devastated country. Should have never really happened, to be honest with you, but it did. Got to deal with it. But they came in as a thief in the night in 1871 and rewrote a constitution. Okay, and they call that the Constitution that they want everybody to swear to and all that because they rewrote it. Limited liability rewrote it. But the next line we have here is the Constitution, and the Constitution consists of three factors to make that Constitution go together and everything coincide together. Is the original Constitution of 1787, and we have the Declaration of Independence and the State's Bill of Rights. And the State's Bill of Rights was ratified. And people don't understand, that's the first 10 of every state's constitution is your state's Bill of Rights. And today we're allowing them to infringe on them. They're coming in, putting their finger on number one. Okay, we can do this because we have a rewrote constitution, and that's what people don't understand. That constitution of the resident, you are a resident, that was written by a limited liability government, and it does not have the proper ratification from the 13th on up. Everything is just thrown in there. Maybe 2 states out of 19 ratified the 16th, but it's a mess. It's a fraud, and I wouldn't lean on that too much. But once you have a constitution developed, and you have original constitution, you got your state's Bill of Rights, you got your Declaration of Independence, them 3 factors went together, and that built a country. And they were right here. And through that country, our forefathers gave their grace back to God. And that was a very perfected document if you actually read it and seen what they had to go through, because they didn't have big education. They learned on their own. And they probably had a better education than people today, because people are just out there. But once you have a constitution that's established by a state's Bill of Rights, all right, so that was states' rights there, it's a state's Bill of Rights. Now, we're not going to allow federal to come into states' rights. And then we had the Declaration of Independence, and a ratification happened at that Declaration of Independence. But I want to move a little bit further because I'm on limited time. I'm way out in the country here on my property, and I run out of camera time pretty quick. So once you have a constitution established, that is a trust, and it's a trust to the people. And that's what it was. But it takes 3 factors to make a trust work. Number 1, it takes a beneficiary. And a beneficiary is one that was here prior to the first constitutional signing and came here as land deed owners. And they could pass that on through their family and bloodlines. And second, you have this E right here. That represents your Constitution. It represents 3 branches of government. You got your legislative, you got your judicial, and you got your executive. And them 3 branches, weights and balances, measures out to the beneficiary and trustee, or it takes the executor to the beneficiary. It has to have consent to operate. And if it doesn't, then you have tyranny. And that's where we're at today. But for this T right here, and this is the third factor, because your beneficiary is the true landowners. That's where the Constitution was supposed to be protecting, and it didn't. We allowed entities to come into our buildings today, and they are just swamping us. But then you've got the executive branch, the executor of a trust. It takes them three branches of government to make a constitutional measure. And then you have the trustee. And the trustee has two meanings to it. It has the elective official that you elected to put in your constitutional seat to represent the people. And the second meaning it has is if you came here after the first constitutional signing, and there was landowners that was issued at that time in the 1800s. But a lot of people came here for their religious freedom and to work the land, raise enough food to raise a family, and have a free world without tyranny. Because we put that in our Constitution so many times, it's ridiculous. But they frowned on tyranny. They didn't want government controlling your lives as it is today. Well, what the trustee that you elected, that you put in your constitutional seat, what he did was he hired with your money an agency. See, agencies are not in your Constitution. It's not a format. You already had your Constitution was set up here with these three factors, and that's under your executive branch of your trust. The agency did not have constitutional authority. It had a little say-so over the 10-mile square of Washington, D.C., to include forts, arsenals, magazines, a few school buildings, a couple of ports, a couple of government buildings. They had a little say-so in that, but your elected official was supposed to take care of you on that, and he didn't. And now we have a problem. Because when you find out all this heebie-jeebie stuff they're doing behind closed doors, you're going to want to react. And it's coming, because they're going to be coming to your homes for too long. I mean, if this little COVID thing, this flu virus comes out and hits pretty hard, they might want to come back to your house again and see what you got. We're in a great dilemma, people. And I'm putting this Last Republic out. This is just a quick video to show you what it's about. It stands for God. It's how your country, Constitution, and then the people is the trust of this Constitution, and we are being blocked out. The agencies now are coming in claiming that they're the beneficiary because they rewrote a Constitution, and they're claiming that you're the trustee, and then they're claiming that they're the executive branch operated by the legislative branch. And see, how do they do that? They wrote these little codes up like state of emergency, stuff like that, that suspends constitutional authority. They don't want you to know all the facts. It's just they allow one branch to come in and make decisions under this. And then the government claims that they're the beneficiary, and they put you into a trustee position, and that they own you. They can control you. There's a process to go through under a common law court of record under a constitutional means. And then remember that our Constitution, when it was written, they had sessions for God prior to any session that they had. Today, the Ten Commandments have been taken out. Everything godly is frowned upon. Anything of history now is frowned upon. And it's time for you to start finding out your roots, to know whether you can come into this as a trustee or a beneficiary level. And we're only looking for one seat. One. And when we remove that one, they'll run, because they don't want you to know the power that the actual beneficiaries of this country has. 25 beneficiaries can remove anybody in an executor or executive position. You can move the President of the United States by 25 people that have a constitutional republic. We don't listen to you here. We don't have to. We can raise our own food. We can print our own money by weights and measures of our Constitution that we have. But there's a lot of knowledge out here that we need to gain and get going. But like I said, there's only one seat we need to remove. You have the beneficiaries, and then you have the trustees, because you're going to work together. You will change so many things, and you won't indebt your children. And then you can find out, if you did carry out a little small mission like this, that's just under God. You're giving God your grace, your respect that you should be given to God. He created this, but he created good and evil. And the factor of the Torah and the King James Version, the overall factor is man committed a sin for knowledge, but God gave you wisdom, and we're not using our wisdom. We want to think scientific knowledge is the way the world turns, and it's not. This wisdom over here is controlled by something much higher than this over here. We're looking for good Americans. There's no race issues, and when God didn't have that factor. It's a straight up man, woman, child, children. We want the best for our country, and we could make this country so sweet where there's no stress. Why do you need stress? Why we need all this bull crap? Why we need somebody coming on saying they tripped on an airplane ride because they were trying to tell you something? Who cares? We can pull out, not pull out, but pull out with a structure that we could be strong and say we control our money, we control our wealth, we control our food, we control what is best for our people, and we're just looking for one county. And that's what this country's come down to. We got too many nuts running around out here claiming that they want to change your law, your constitution, so they can feel like they don't get offended. Well, it's time for us to put our foot down. It's an honest way to do this. It's a godly way to do this. And it's a constitutional way to do this. And it's very simple. We can get rid of one seat. If you like this video and I want to see something done, I want to see, because I know once one county can happen, there'll be somebody else kicking up another county making it happen. And then next thing you know it, we're getting that evil out.